Welcome to another Drago Dog Walk Talk. There's Drago. Drago. There's Drago. And it is the 30th of June. Literally 1 month. 1/3 of summer's over. Not that you can tell, because the weather here this summer has been absolute crap. It's like 10 degrees outside right now. And raining. Raining all month long. Literally, it was like 26 degrees in April. 10 degrees for you Fahrenheit bound people is like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It was up in low 80s in April, and after a week of ice cold temperatures in May, it was back up in the upper 70s, lower to mid 80s. And all month of June has been, well, if we get in the 70s, we're lucky. Definitely not today or tomorrow. It's, I think, plus 13 is going to be like the max. If we get that high. Yeah, this has been a crap summer. My cucumbers are barely growing, everything's barely growing. Just cold and miserable, no sunlight. So I don't know about this heat wave in Europe as they keep talking about it. It definitely is in the Eastern Europe, even Southwest Russia. This year is cold comparatively. It's in the mid 70s. It should be up in the upper 80s, lower 90s at this point. So there's that. I mean, the weather is definitely doing something. It's just not totally understood what. And yeah, now you get to look at my ugly mug. So, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, got back the other day from being down, not at the exact front lines, but pretty damn close to it. We were in the near rear of the 98th Airborne Division. Brought help, did other good things. We had a dean of Moscow Sports University who's working with the universities in Lugansk and in Donetsk to bring them up to full Russian standards, federal standards, so they can continue producing top-notch athletes. A lot of these sports universities, and they get a basic education, they get the education, but their key qualifications are in sports. So you get a lot of your Olympic athletes out of these types of establishments, and teachers. So a lot of these universities, they're not just sports, of course. They're teaching universities. So you get lots of teachers in media and other things, but sports is one of them. So you get both your future Olympic stars and your instructors for various school systems and so on. And the Lugansk one was established back like 90 years ago. I think it was still under Tsarist Russia, so it was more than 90 years ago. It was almost over about 110, 115 years ago. So it was before before the Bolshevik Revolution. Anyways, so just more to show how Russia, the rest of Russia, is definitely not ignoring its historic territories that have returned to the fold. It's doing everything actively to support them and to get them up to the standards of the rest of the country, which are pretty damn high and higher than most of Europe, even though Europeans can't swallow that. You know, that was one of the things I remember before everything went to shit. Lots of Europeans would, from the EU, would say, yeah, we definitely need Russia. Russia with all of its, Russia can give us all the resources. Yeah, okay, yeah, well, we're just waiting to give somebody our resources, and we'll give them our standards. Oh, yes, thank you. We need your bureaucracy. Trust me, we've got plenty of our own, and we have our own standard. It's called GOST. That was up and running back in 1920s. So thanks, but no thanks. Russia, by the way, for those who don't know, has somewhere between the 4th and 5th largest manufacturing base that's going through a huge renovation, a renaissance, and is increasing, expanding very quickly. And again, it was already about the 4th, 5th largest manufacturing base in the world. So nobody talks about it in the West. They're, oh, Russia's oil and gas or Russia's resources. Yeah, well, there's plenty of that industry that goes along with that. That's why Russia built the big bridge, the Kerch Bridge, without the Europeans building. It's the biggest construction, I think, in modern Europe. that in the last at least 20, 25 years. I'm not even counting Nord Stream and anything else. But the Kerch Bridge is the biggest, I think, modern construction. I mean, the bridge is like 18 kilometers long, for those who don't understand how big it is. So when the Ukrainians and the Germans and the other start, oh, we're going to blow up the bridge. No, you're not. You may blow up a section of that bridge, but it will get repaired, as it has in the past. Blowing up the whole bridge is a very complex situation for obvious reasons. It is big. It is long. It's actually two bridges. Drago. No, Drago. It's actually two bridges, not one, because there's the automobile bridge going in both directions, obviously. It's 3 lanes wide. And then there's the rail bridge, which runs a little bit lower and parallel with it. So, and that's a separate actual bridge, which is why it came online later. With everybody screaming, oh, it can't be done, it can't be done, it's all CGI, Russians can't do it. You know, we can't do it, so obviously Russians can't do it. The same thing the Americans and NATO were screaming about hypersonic missiles. Well, if we can't do it, then the Russians definitely can't do it, because, you know, they're just white apes. And we've dropped billions upon billions of dollars into this, and we can't do it, and Russia definitely can't do it on a smaller budget. Yeah, well, you know how that turned out. Anyways, so I was in the near rear headquarters for the 98th Airborne Battalion. Division. And I can tell you, man, their warehousing, localized warehousing is so well developed. And this is not in buildings, this is dugouts. It's so well organized. Most corporate structures would be envious to have anything even close to this level of organization and this level of control. I mean, that's a standard above even what I had in my warehouses when I was director of supply chain for Halliburton Eurasia. It's a level I wanted to have, but wow, I mean, it is incredible. I can't sing enough praises on it. I'm not going to name any names because, you know, I don't have the right to do that. Drago. Да. На, кушай. Пошли. Стой. But yeah, it was just incredible level. I mean, they've got all the basics they've got. We bring them additional stuff that's harder to get, or on a wish list that doesn't fit the main kit. Пошли. And wants to drink the water off the roads and in the puddles. I guess it tastes better than the clear, fresh water I give him. But the problem is then he gets the runs. So, and then I got to clean that up out of his extended cage. Just added another 2 square meters onto it. But yeah, and then I get to go clean it up. Like, yay, me! But it's dog ownership. So anyways. Yeah, drink the water I give you. Not that you can understand English. No, he doesn't understand English. He's a monolingual dog. So yeah, it was incredible. And you know something else? I took some photos, and you can see these photos right now. The postcards or the drawings that kids send. I mean, it's one thing when adults send it, it's obviously family members, but when kids, classes and so send it, it is a godsend to soldiers. And I can tell you this, you know, letters, mail in general is a godsend. I think it's more important than pay when you're out on the front or in remote locations. You know, and to know that the people are behind you, kids are writing you. I mean, they post these, they keep these. Guys are crying reading some of the letters. So it is incredibly important. I cannot overemphasize that point. So yeah, so there's that. What else? Well, that's been my time for the last week. I've been somewhat keeping up with everything else. Internet's spotty at best. Don't particularly like when you're down there. You don't really switch on your telephone that often, unless you're far enough away from drones and such, because you know your number pops up. In 21, 22 was much more obvious. If you switched on your telephone, you were close to the front lines. The Ukrainians at towers would pick you up, and all of a sudden you get a phone call. Nobody's answering that phone call. That phone call is just to check to see if this is a real number and it's alive. And then you're being tracked, and could be a target. They don't do that anymore, but you know your numbers are being tracked if you're close enough. So the tendency is you do not switch on your phones. If you've got internet, that's one thing. But unless you've got a Ukrainian SIM card in, so they're confused, you definitely don't switch your phone on too close to the border. Some of the photos going through right now, I'm going to be I'm posting. As you can see, these are ruins from fighting. This is coming into different directions: Donetsk, Yasinovatov, Gorlovka, those areas that are still all actively being targeted. You can see the damage done. Now the roads have gotten better, so there's much less targeting because there's actual road construction. You know, a year ago we're screaming down those roads at about 160 kilometers an hour, trying to not land into one of these craters from artillery fire. What they do is they crater the road, then people can't go fast, and then they use drones to kill the civilians in the cars, or military in the cars, because you wind up going slow. But now there's actual road construction, so you know there's a lot less flying in, or the anti-air systems are much more efficient than they were before that. So you can see the damage done. I mean, these are, you know, well, this is what it is. This is the reality of it. This is what your tax dollars pay for. So, you know, if you wonder where your tax dollars go, this is part of them go into your local politician's pocket. Part of them go into Zelensky and Cruz's pocket and his various commanders, and part of them go to kill civilians and blow civilian infrastructure up. Because, you know, unlike military infrastructure, civilian infrastructure doesn't tend to have a lot of anti-air that shoots back, and civilians don't have a tendency to shoot back. So yeah, they're easy targets. You know, when all this started, this is how pathetic this was getting. When all this started, and Ukrainian army was forced out of Lugansk. Now Lugansk has two cemeteries, in the north and the south cemeteries. Most of my family members are buried in the northern cemetery, and a few are buried in the southern cemetery. Well, in the northern cemetery, first of all, the Ukrainians were hiding their losses by digging up graves and dropping bodies of their dead in there and covering back up. And there's videos out where they just drop them down sewage canals. I mean, dozens of their own bodies. So it's no surprise they don't want to take back bodies from Russia that Russia's giving over. I mean, 6,000, those 6,000, that's a drop in the bucket. Just in Kursk, there's another 70,000 lying around, including American mercs and British mercs. So, yeah, nobody, they don't want it because then they have to admit to the losses. But, you know, there's 400,000 MIA. Now I'm not talking about people in POW camps. Those lists go out. But MIA all over, just dropped all over the ground. That they don't want back for obvious reasons. Well, the families want them back, obviously. But the powers that be and their Western backers don't. You know, if Trump wanted to be Mr. Peace, as he so claims, he could have actually gone in and demanded that Ukraine take those bodies back. But there's a lot of things Trump could have done that he doesn't or won't do, for obvious reasons, regardless of what his claims about truity really are. The reality speaks louder. So yeah, so I mean, when the Ukrainians were being pushed out of Lugansk back in 2014, they started blowing up and destroying the cemetery. I guess, you know, the dead don't really shoot back, unlike the living. So the quick and the dead, the quick have a tendency of sending some of the other quick to the second category. So there you go for that. For all the fun shits and giggles. Yeah, that's the defenders of Western values for you. So I'm asking you, Westerns, those your values? Are they? Because you're being spoken for, that's for damn sure. And that's what they're claiming. They're defending your values. So you tell me, are those your values? I'm hoping the people who listen to me definitely say no. They should say no. But unfortunately, I think quite a few in the West will happily say yes. It is their values. I mean, the things that are coming out of the West these days, geez. Desecration of churches, the two-tier systems, persecution of Christians in supposedly Christian countries. I mean, come on, literally, in Scotland, you cannot pray in your head outside your own house. Okay? I mean, in the worst of worst times, the Soviet Union's worst times, and most of the Soviet Union didn't particularly persecute people. I mean, that was the 1920s and 1930s. But in the worst times, nobody came up to you and asked, "Are you praying in your head?" Okay, well, yeah, we're going to punish you for that. I think Scotland's taken all of this to a whole new level. And Scotland, it's sooner than later, it's the rest of the UK. And UK is just one example of just this rotten system called the West in general, in Europe in particular. Incredible. I mean, just really, really incredible things that are happening. And the Scots are sucking it up. I guess most of the West has been so neutered, they'll happily go die off fighting Russians than defend their own homeland. I mean, there's an imam from some radical Islamic organization that was on in Sweden. I was watching this morning, talking about, we're going to be the majority in Sweden soon. So Sweden is an Islamic caliphate. And effectively it already is. And Swedes are being prepared for the final die-off fighting Russians. And considering how many millions of people are in Sweden, ain't that many. It's like, 7 or 8 million? If they take half the casualties that the Ukrainians have took, the male population in Sweden is over. It's over. And the women will get taken care of. Don't you worry about that. That's what they're counting on. Not many, even spineless Swedish males left, and the women will get taken care of. And you think you got a rape capital of Europe and second biggest rape capital in the world right now in Sweden? It's going to get tenfold worse. When Shari isn't just in exclusive zones, I mean, just think about it. You got exclusive zones where Swedes really don't go into the city centers or city parts anymore of their own cities that their ancestors built, that are now owned by foreigners. But the whole country is going to be one big shari. And Norway ain't far behind, and Finland's running down that same road, and so is Denmark. The entire Scandinavia is set on disappearing. Mass abortion of your own population while importing massive amounts of people have absolutely nothing in common with you, except that they're human beings and they breathe the same air. And that's about where it's a full stop. That'll do it to you. That will do it to you. And unlike, I think, the Irish and probably the British, I think we'll have a civil war. Those people will fight. The former Vikings are so neutered, are so spineless. They'll get shoved in as meat for the war in the West, on the East, but they won't fight for their own country. It's an incredible sight to watch. But I guess that's how it goes. But ABBA keep playing. ABBA's doing a tour, by the way. Not I ever liked ABBA. My wife likes ABBA. I never liked ABBA. But they're like in their early 70s, mid 70s these days. Yeah. They actually aged, I guess, relatively well since they can still function. Unlike most rock stars that can't function past 50 because of the life they've led. But I don't think I would ever call ABBA rock. But anyways, I am now totally digressing into non-issues. Drago, no. So that's the extent of the program for today. It's short, sorry. Oh, and by the way, so Israel is now, we'll do the short bit on Israel. So Israel has basically declared that they will continue fighting Iran. When the ministries are saying, you know, we'll strike Iran as we see fit, and screw you, Trump. We do what we want. You are a whore, and nobody's going to tell us what to do and whom to have peace with. Because the first thing Israel did the moment it had, quote, a ceasefire with Iran, the incapable the Nazis in Israeli power and the population supports them, and they do support them. They don't support taking casualties. Of course, they don't support having a missile dropped in their head, but they're quite happy to exterminate all their neighbors. That's not an issue. That's over 80% of the population supports that. Maybe the people that said, well, you know, now that we've had a missile dropped on our head, maybe we'll reconsider. That population may be growing. You know, having your house and part of your family blown up has a tendency to put things into perspective that you didn't have before when you were just blowing up other people's families and other people's houses. Yeah, life has a tendency of doing that, karma. But the majority of the population still happily supports exterminating everybody around them, genociding, and then being angry that you made us have to genocide you. You know, we'll never forgive you. Literally, I was watching one rabbi who said, we can forgive you for killing our children, but we can never forgive you for making us kill yours. Yeah, okay. We could forgive you, but we'll never forgive you for making it. So, yeah, that's the type of logic it's absolutely twisted logic. There's reports of the Palestinian population having shrunk by 400,000 people. Now, some of them may have escaped. Some of them may have immigrated, but I think the vast majority are just dead. There are thousands, quite literally, every month dying from hunger and disease, and that's only accelerating. So, they're literally bringing in more trucks with bags on them, plastic bags, than trucks with food. Just food for thought. Just food for thought on that. As you know, the Western politicians, particularly the American politicians, are just saying kill them all because, you know, it's not theirs. There's foreign people dying. It's not Americans dying. Плохо. Угомонись. Что это было? Что это было? So anyways, so Israel instantly switched on one ceasefire and switched off another and started shelling Lebanon north of where the ceasefire line was. So further in now into strictly Christian areas, and then their videos came out of a West Bank Christian village being torched by the IDF, burning. Thankfully, oh how thankfully, the vast majority of American actual people who are concerned with Christians don't give a damn, because, you know, they're dispensationalist heretics that say, oh, it's so good. You know, anything the super people that are genetically superior to us do is great as long as it brings around rapture. Yeah, I don't know how else but to get angry with these people who, holier than thou. We believe the Bible, but we've never actually read it to understand what the hell we read. We've had it spoon-fed to us in pieces and with other people's false interpretations. But, you know, hey, also they're burning Christian villages. Hey, it's all good because they're not real Christians. They're not like us, so they're not Christians. That's usually what you hear from. Okay, that was my soapbox for the moment. Anyways, so there you go. God bless. Take care. And until next time.